This episode of the Rogue Deck Builder is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 source for games and gaming accessories, and by GatheringMagic.com, the #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and articles. Hi there, it's Kevin with Gathering Magic and Roguedeckbuilder.com. You're with match number 2 in the Modern Premiere with Soul Sisters, going up against Glide the Glide Drexler. This guy's actually pretty good on MTGO. He's usually one of those Batutino type characters that's always on, so I'm sure we're up against a good deck here. Yes, we'd like to play first. And let's see here. Squadron Hawk, Windrush Heights. This is definitely keepable hand. Not going to mulligan this. No way. And we can go a first turn Soul's Attendant and probably into a second turn Squadron Hawk. Debating if we want to go into a Windrush Heights, guaranteeing a untapped land on turn 3 to drop a Spectral Procession, and then we can drop an Honor of the Pure. We'll just have to wait and see what we're up against and how the line of play will be. There is a bit of decision making because of Windbrace Heights in Soul Sisters. If he is a slower deck, it will depend on how I play this, because I might just want to go that line of play. Alrighty, so we will go ahead. Our opponent keeps his 7-land hand. We'll go ahead and play a Soul's Attendant and pass the turn back to him. And it's a Razor's Thicket, so I'm thinking Pod here. Oh, jeez. So we get another matchup that's pretty terrible for us to beat, which is the Hexproof deck. The reason is we start to get outclassed, so I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to go over the top of him, and this is going to require us to get the Spectral Processions on the Pure combo. So I'm going to go ahead and hide away this turn, and hopefully we find another on the Pure. That's really the only thing that's going to be able to race this. The thing about this, though, is he's already down to 18 minutes, and these matchups can actually go quite a long time. It's not they have to they have to stall, and a lot of times I can stall with the amount of chump blockers I have. So the clock is going to work against him. So I'm going to definitely put this on the Pure in the hideaway in the Windrush Heights, and see if he wants to make this trade. I highly doubt he does. If he does, okay, so he's got double Hexproof guys, which is okay. Yep, okay, that's fine. And if he puts like a Rancor on here, usually I thought for sure he wouldn't want to go that route, but it's going to be an Ethereal Armor. So now I definitely don't want to make that trade, but we have another Soul's Attendant here, but I think the right line of play is just going to be the Spectral Procession. And next turn we can Soul Attendant and attack for 3 and put an Honor the Pure into play. So we should be pretty good here. If there is one aggro draw that can get us there, it is this Spectral Procession. But the worst thing that could happen to us is a Daybreak Coronet. Or an Unflinching Courage. That's pretty bad too for us. So we go down to a 16. I draw the second Squadron Hawk, but that's fine. We're going to go ahead and just put this Soul's Attendant out. And we're probably going to get outclassed here by the amount of auras he's going to be able to throw on his Unflinching Courage Glade Clever Scout. So definitely wish I would have made that trade with the Soul's Attendant. Again, these interactive decks are very hard for me to deal with Soul Sisters. I don't expect them to be very popular. I think Jund really keeps these decks down, and I don't think that the Death Ray Shaman is really going to hurt a Jund type strategy. If something else, it'll turn it into like a junk type strategy with white, or splash blue, or they just go a black blue shell to begin with, and any sort of first turn Thoughtseize just really wrecks both the Infect deck that we faced last round and this deck. So again, it is a bit unlucky that we're facing our 2 hardest matchups in the format, rounds 1 and 2. But it is what it is. That's Modern for you. There's a lot of decks that are terrible matchups, but I still am going to stick behind it. Soul Sisters has a very, very good full range matchup versus the metagame. I mean, over I would say 70% of the decks are very, very in Soul Sisters' favor, and especially it's the popular decks that are in Soul Sisters' favor. You'll see these Hexproof decks every now and again. They pop up, but for the most part, they come and go, and you'll go a whole few months without ever seeing a Hexproof deck. I know that Reed Duke did play this in the last big, I believe it was Worlds that he played this in, and whatnot. So it is a popular deck, but nonetheless, it's something we can definitely don't have to worry about going up against too much. All right, so I think the right line of play is going to be attack in here and cast the Honor of the Pure. And next turn we can Spectral Processions again, but I don't even know if I can race at this point. Yeah, definitely not race with 10 damage. So again, you can go a card that you can go against this deck, against the sideboard, is Destroy All Enchantments. If I would have this, it'd be, and I have thought about putting that in the sideboard before. See, the Path to Exile is completely pointless in this deck. We can leave everything back. I think the right line of play is just going to be another Spectral Processions and just leave everything back. And other than, wait, he's got first strike on this, so maybe I don't go that line of play. Yeah. Huh. I think we just Spectral Processions again, gain some life. And we'll do what we can against the Gladecover Scout. I do have 2 Sundering Growths I can bring in, but again, not too much. And another card you can use is Celestial Flare. I have seen people think about using that. That would actually work against that Infect deck as well. So we're not. You can build Soul Sisters to beat these decks, is what I'm trying to say. But I don't think it's worth it because these are such fringe decks. I'm going to still say that this is a fringe deck. You rarely ever see it. So he's going to go ahead and draw a card here. I'm going to go up to 9 life, and I'm pretty much. I think I'm going to be dead. Now, the thing is, do I hold everything back in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. He first strikes off 5 of them and still survives. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything I can do here. I'll attack in with my Soul Attendant, but I think that's the only thing I really attack in with. Again, though, it's a pretty good, decent draw on his part. I'll say it again, I hate the Infect deck and the Hexproof deck. I played this deck for a little bit on the Modern season last time around, and I absolutely hated hands where you'd have like 3 creatures and no enchantments, or just like 1 enchantment, or the opposite, like 1 creature and then just 4 enchantments in your hand. It was so dead to a first turn Thoughtseize. It was embarrassing how bad it was to against the Jund matchups, especially even with Liliana, it was pretty bad. And that's why I quit playing it, because it was just so unwinnable. And with the metagame being like 60% Jund variants, or like Splinter Twin Jund, UWR, it was just a terrible deck to run. Oh, wow. Okay, that's probably going to be game here. He puts another Ethereal Armor on it. So he's going to attack in. I have to block up to 7 damage here, 2, 4. So I'm going to put this, and this under the bin, and that's 8 damage I'm blocking. I'll go down to a 1. And I don't know. Again, I don't think there's anything I can do to interact with him. Get a Plains here. That's not going to help us. What we can do is we can Honor the Pure and Squadron Hawk. And he's got another Keen Sense, which draws a card whenever it attacks. 3, 6, 9, 12. I die here. All right, so we'll go on to the next game. Again, there's not much I can bring in here except for the Sundering Growths. Everything else is pretty much obsolete. I mean, I could bring in Rest in Peace against Rancors, but that's pointless. I could bring in Immortal Servitude, but again, I don't think that's the right way to go. I think I just try to out aggro him the best I can, and these Path to Exiles can come out. They do take care of the guy that draws cards, but I don't think it's worth it. I think the right play is just to bring in as much aggro as possible with the Dryad Militants, and we'll submit this away. Or maybe I just do keep in like a path to exile. No, I don't want to. It's going to be the Dryad Militants. And we're just going to try to go for the quickest kill that we can. Hopefully he doesn't have any lifelink, and we can race him. Now the good news is he doesn't have the greatest way to interact with us either. So if we do have our God draw, again, our Johnny's Pride Mates can actually get really, really big. And I've been able to stall the decks for quite a while with the Johnny's Pride Mate getting huge before I can just assemble a big enough army to go over the top of him. But again, it's just, this is a very, very bad matchup, very awkward matchup for us as we cannot interact. All right, so yes, we'd like to play first. Let's hope for a good hand here. This is going to be a terrible hand. I'm going to have to mulligan. This is not going to get us there. Our champion's a little bit slow. Honor the Pure. I mean, if we had more and more land, this would be keepable. I have to mulligan this. And again, no lands. We're going to definitely have to mulligan this. This is not going our way today, as we're going to go down to 5 cards. And yeah, again, if we had a land here, I'd keep this. But pretty much I don't think 5 lands can, or a 5 card hand with 2 lands can even get us there. So maybe I should have kept that first one. I did have action with the Sarah's Ascendant, but still, 1 land hands are just on the player just too iffy to play. Well, it's 3 lands. I mean, we do have action here. We have a Soul's Ascendant and Windbrace Heights to hopefully get us back into this game, but I highly, 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 highly doubt that we can do much here. So no first turn play on his part. I am an RX champion here. Get in for 1. And let's see if he kept a hand with the guy that actually does draw cards. It does look like that. Yeah. So now I don't have any Path to Exiles. This guy's just going to completely wreck me. There's another RX champion, which isn't going to do much. We'll definitely put the Pride Mate. Get rid of 2 lands off the top. That's nice. But with no Path to Exile, Core Spirit Dancer pretty much has us. Because it's going to go crazy here when he starts enchanting it. This would have been a pretty decent draw, too, if I would have had an aggressive draw. It would have probably been too slow. We'd been able to completely overwhelm him. And a Daybreak Coronet gives him Vigilance. That is going to do it. I basically have to draw into a Sundering Growth here. And it's going to be nothing. It's going to be another Plains. I think what I do put here is I just put a Squadron Hawk. No, I definitely don't want a Squadron Hawk. We'll put a Honor the Pure underneath, but yeah, that's going to be game. We have basically no more turns to deal with this, as I'm sure he's going to get up to 16. All I have to do is put Unflinching Courage on here. So the card you want against this deck is called Tempest of Light, by the way. It is, I believe it's 3 mana to do destroy all enchantments. And he's been able to pretty much draw a card for every one of these cast. Yeah, taking out the Path to Exiles is definitely a mistake. So I got a chump block with one of these. Go down to a 1 and draw into the Path to Exile that I do not have. Yeah, that's going to be game. So, and unfortunately we lose this match. Again, I'm stressing this enough. You won't see these matchups, hopefully, first and second round if you play Soul Sisters. This deck is very good against Jund. I'm going to keep in it. Hopefully, we actually do start seeing the matchups that we want to see. The problem with being in the 0-2 bracket is then you start getting it against the Goryo's Vengeance decks and the more the Infect decks and more of this green-white enchantments deck. So frustrating, but that's Magic. You gotta roll with it. Sometimes you just do not get your matchups. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.